Good afternoon, guys. My name is Alina Shaltsova. I'm an immigration attorney from New York. And today, before Thanksgiving, I'm going to have our live. I'm going to talk about recent immigration news, what's happening with the BBB bill in Senate Parliamentarian. Also, good news about administrative closure. For those of you who are in court proceedings, very, very important to know that. And of course, if you will have some questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So thank you very much for joining. Please let me know where you're watching from. Say hello, prepare your questions, and perhaps if we have time in the end, we're going to play a trivia. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to give me answers if you know them. And then we're going to see who is the winner is. So thank you very much for joining. Hi, Ali. Stop by, say hello. Start sharing this live if you can, so other people will be able to join us as well. Hi, Purpose 20. Hi, Brinda. Hi, Sejin. Hi, Twiggy Blink. Illinois, California, New Jersey. Hi, Nafisa. Hi, Venkat. Hi, Swengen. Hi, Kenny. Orlando. Warm Orlando. Cold New York. Hello from New York. Hi, Paresh. Hi, MD. Hi, Hussein. So very nice seeing you all guys here. And let's start. So we had some interesting news this week, right? We had some good news about proposed immigration reform. Actually, last week it was passed by the House. And I had a video about what's going to be next. Basically, what's going to be next is that the Senate has to vote on it. And until Senate votes on it and President signs it into law, it's not the law yet. I started receiving a lot of inquiries about if I will qualify for it, what's going to happen, will I be able to travel? And I'm going to tell you right away that currently nobody will be able to tell you with confidence. Nobody will be able to give you qualified, reliable advice as to whether or not you will qualify for it. Why? Because there is nothing to comment on. First, the law has to pass. Perhaps qualifications are going to change. Also, regulations have to pass and be printed. So we will need to know whether it's going to cover everyone or, let's say, only people with administratively closed cases if they are in removal proceedings, or only people who's never been to court, or only people who, or everyone like TPS, right? So it's hard for us to predict as to who will be covered by immigration reform provisions, even if they pass the way they're written now. My heart is telling me that it should be going to everybody. It should be available to anyone who meets the residence qualification, but it may change. And that's the main point. It may change. So what's going to happen next is this. You and some of you already shared with me that some of you already saw in the news that the Senate Parliamentarian gave a hopeful sign to Democrats. What did she do? Well, she basically did not rule out Plan C right away. She stated all she did is that she basically gave them okay to proceed further and bring it to the next step where both parties may explain what they want and basically state their case in favor and against that proposal. I expect the arguments would be something like this. Republicans, of course, are going to say that even this proposal is going to encourage illegal immigration at the border, and it's out of control already. They're going to say that it's going to sink the labor market and economy. And they're going to say that they're going to probably use the Senate parliamentarians' previous rulings and say that this proposal is just like the one that they had before, and it has nothing to do with the budget, and it will create a new policy that should not be allowed to go through the reconciliation. I think those will be the main arguments if I had to predict. Democrats are going to argue that, in fact, this is such a minor change in the law that even though it will have effect on immigration, it will have a greater effect on the budget. Why? Well, first of all, it will allow the government to collect revenues from the application forms themselves. Then it probably will increase revenues from the tax payments when people are going to get employment authorization and will start paying taxes more. And one more effect of legalizing people would be that people will not be afraid to invest, buy houses, make other investments that now they may be reluctant or simply cannot do because they lack, let's say, social security and stability, right? So the budgetary effect of the reform may be much more noticeable and important than the effect of parole, because parole also, unlike other proposals, would not create path to citizenship. Remember this. It will be temporary measure that will give you a safety net for some time, but it's not going to lead directly to citizenship. And this is one of the strongest arguments in Democrats' pockets, basically, that it's different from A and B. A and B were proposing green cards. This proposal does not. It basically just gives employment authorization and ability to travel that you will have to file for. So this is where we stand. Now, when are we going to know when it's going to be resolved already, right? When the guessing game is going to be over? That's a good question. There is no timeline, there is no deadline, but from what we understand, Charles Schumer said that he is hoping to pass this by Christmas. So if I had to guess, I would say that within the next 2 weeks, we will know the answer by the Senate Parliamentarian. And then, of course, Democrats will have to decide what they're going to do. Are they going to ignore her or they're going to go forward? So if I had to pinpoint the deadline, I would say by December, right? Just like Charles Schumer stated. I hope that will be resolved more or less by the beginning of December, but it seems it's going to be a little bit longer. So this is where we stand with all of this. I know that everybody's tired and hopeful and waiting, but this is what's going on right now. Overall, it's not bad news, but it's also not a positive yes so far. And of course, it cannot be without the process of allowing both sides to explain their position and bring the arguments forward. This process just cannot be thrown out. So logically, the Senate parliamentarian would have to give both sides opportunity to present their case fully. That's what's going on. Now, what I also wanted to mention here is administrative closure, guys. Administrative closure, first of all, what is this? It is a pausing of your case in court. It does not resolve your charges. It simply pauses your case so you don't have to go to court or do something actively for your case in immigration court, okay? When there is an administrative closure, it means that if you would like to file later for adjustment of status, you will still have to go to court to put the case on active calendar and then file or terminate the case or file for adjustment of status with the judge. Administrative closure also means that you are in immigration court proceedings. Your lawyer is still your lawyer, all right? Your lawyer, even though your attorney-client relationship may be revised in terms of payments and so on and so forth. Also, what happens is that you still have to report change of address if you are moving. It's very important. Many people forget about that because technically, case may be placed on active calendar without you. Let's say you don't want to, but the other side wants to. That's what happened during the Trump administration, right? They started putting administratively closed cases on active calendar, calling you to court. And if the court sends you a notice to come to court to the address that you did not update, it's going to be on you. And you will have a default order of removal, which you do not want to have because it comes with a 5-year permanent bar on applying for new relief, unless you will be able to reopen your case fast enough, or you can argue that you missed your case for good cause. You missed your hearing date for the good cause. So what happened with administrative closure? What happened is that just a memo was released EOIR memo stating that if the other side does not object, the judge should generally grant it. Well, why is it important? It's because because of the Trump administration. Because during the Trump administration, what happened was that administrative closure was not allowed. Then there was uncertainty if the prosecutor's agreement has to be in place for that. And finally, we received assurance that very often, for example, a lawyer would file a motion for something and there is no opposition or no news from the government. So what to do? So now we receive assurance that if this happens, judge not only can, but generally should close the case. Of course, it will improve the case flow for many lucky ones, because many who basically have very weak cases, let's say weak asylum case, right, will try their luck with administrative closure and will try to close their cases. It will free up the court calendar and probably will save the court calendar for more serious charges and cases. Administrative closure, again, will not dispose of your case, which is good for the government if they're afraid that everybody who's illegal is going to run away. No, it's just going to free up the calendar and allow the court to focus on cases where people either actively would like to pursue the relief or the government objects. The government objects to administrative closure and the government would like to pursue the case, right? So overall, I think it's a good news. I think so. Maybe you disagree. So now if you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Let me see. Good afternoon. Hi, guys. Hi, Vinay. Hi, John. Hi, Tony. Miss Alina, can someone who is inadmissible to enter the United States to be able to enter the United States with the parole, whose main purpose are to vacate the conviction, state conviction, and reopen immigration removal? I'm not sure about reopening immigration removal, but parole can be granted in any situation. Also depends on why the person is inadmissible. Parole can be granted for urgent humanitarian purpose, and yes, it can be granted to somebody who's inadmissible as well, right? So usually it would be granted by ICE, I guess, in this situation if there was a removal going on. Chances of that, I'm not sure what chances of that would be, I'll be honest with you, but I know cases of parole where people were allowed to enter to resolve criminal charges. Not sure, how much time passed after the removal and physical departure, from what I understand, and what the charges are. And you also can listen to your attorney and see what your attorney is going to say, right? And why would your presence be necessary to dispose of the charges? This is another issue, because usually in cases like yours, charges are going to be disposed without you, even though it's necessary under the law for the defendant to be in court. But the practice shows the judges would waive the appearance in such cases. All right. Last week, the APLA agreed to join our motion to reopen via prosecutorial discretion. After 28 years, PD is a great option if you're in removal proceedings. Sure, absolutely. PD, basically, it makes your life easier, because if there is an agreement by the government to do something, nobody's fighting you. Why the judge would not grant your motion, right? Or your request for relief? I can understand that judges do have independence and perhaps they may feel strongly about the case as well. I wouldn't be surprised that there are cases where, despite the agreement of the prosecutor, the judge may still deny the case for whatever reason. But usually then such cases are going to go on appeal. Hi, Christian. Can an undocumented individual travel domestically in the United States with a non-US passport? Spoke about that in the last video. Please refer to it. I had a whole speech about this, and this will give you a reason to watch more of my videos. Can someone who has CAT, Convention Against Torture Relief, readjust his status if parole passes? Parole will not lead to the green card. Okay. Also, if you filed for CAT, why it was CAT, why it was not asylum, what disqualified you from it. So there may be reasons that you may still receive this C parole, Plan C parole. And again, as I mentioned, we do not know the exact qualifications for it yet, but it will not make you admissible if you are inadmissible for adjustment of status purposes. So if you would like to consult with a lawyer, the lawyer will have to see your file, see why it was CAT, why it was not something else. My guess would be criminal conviction is involved, because this is usually the case, or perhaps missed deadlines or something else, right? Because sometimes a person may qualify for asylum, but they will not qualify for adjustment of status, right? For example, a person does not have legal entry. It's just an example. Hi, Mary. When would the parole be in effect? Well, first it has to pass by both the Senate and the House. Then it has to be signed into law. And even then, according to the drafts, it's going to take effect no earlier than 180 days or May something of 2022. So there will be like 6 months delay, all right? Plus, we need regulations for it. Don't forget that. Hi, Manuel. Where did it jump? Miss Alina, for a person who is over 21 and has a U.S. parent and U.S. relative, is there an option? By the way, I'm getting married next year. Well, first of all, congratulations on your engagement and marriage. Now, if the person is over 21 and has a U.S. parent, this person, did they have a legal entry or not? Also, the person may look currently under the option of I-601A waiver, perhaps, right? Perhaps. I do not know if they would qualify for it. But the person who is an adult son or daughter means 21 above when U.S. citizen parent filed for them. They will not be able to adjust status in the United States if they have a gap in their lawful non-immigrant status, right? So unless they also qualify for, let's say, 245I exception or some other exception. So I would suggest you consult with an attorney. There may not be adjustment of status, but maybe some other options available, or perhaps for adjustment of status, you do qualify for some exceptions, which even though it's rare. All right. Hi, Anike. How will help F3 category? F3 category, well, there is a language in BBB bill that by paying a super fee, or how some people refer to it, by paying for a fee, you will be able to skip the line or speed up your line. So I guess if that provision stays, then people in preference categories will be able to, for a fee, to speed up their line, and instead of waiting for 10 years, are going to wait for 2 years, right? Something like that. Hi, R. If it passes the law, can someone fix status on a false claim of citizenship? Parole does not create any waivers. It does not create any path to citizenship, okay? So if you have a false claim of citizenship in your file that cannot be argued that it was timely retracted, or you fall under the exception of making it when you were young, and so on and so forth. And of course, this is not a consultation. I would suggest that you consult with a lawyer who can review how that claim occurred, right? Parole is not going to be curing any inadmissibility issues related to U.S. claim of U.S. citizenship. All right. So it's not that, because there is adjustment of status, which is process by which you're obtaining a green card, during which your admissibility is being checked, and there is parole. Parole is work permit. It's different. Hi, Santosh. Cutoff date 2011 for undocumented, and for recapturing visas, cutoff date 2021. How far is it fair, perfect reform date for all? How fair is, I think you're trying to say that it's not fair somehow, right? Well, perhaps it's not fair. As I stated before in many videos, first of all, there will not be a reform without a cutoff date. It's not going to happen because the other side always is going to object, right? Why? Because for them, the main argument that they're using is that reform encourages illegal immigration. Without the cutoff date, basically people who entered relatively recently will be able to get the documents, and that's a deal breaker for the other side. So they will never ever agree to any reform without the cutoff date, as they never had agreed to that. All right, so is it fair or not? Consider this from your point of view, perhaps, or from a point of view of a person who recently entered, it will be unfair. But from a point of view of a person who's been here for 20 years, they'd rather take that than nothing, right? So if we look at everybody, at all the groups of immigrants, I guess it's going to depend on the point of view of the person, depending on how long they've been here. And I know many people who spent here 20 years and they would take parole over nothing. And for them, it would be unfair if, because of this argument, parole does not pass, right? So I don't see this particular measure as the final immigration reform. I'd rather see it as a first step. So as a first step towards reform of the entire immigration system in the United States, I think it will be a good step, because I would take something opposed to nothing. I know it's not ideal, many people will be disappointed, but some people and many people are going to be able to benefit from it as well. Hi, Kabir. What about people who came after 2011? If you do not fall, let's say they will not change the date and you will not fall under this particular provision, then you will need to see if you can fix your status using the current law, some other means, right? That's how it goes. Thank you as always. Hi, Parvis. Thank you very much. It always makes me happy, guys, that you're watching. Maybe you learned something. Maybe there are some other things that you get from it. Maybe just some, spending some time, right? I like to watch some lawyers doing live because I learned something, and it always brings me, puts me in a good mood. Interacting with people, asking questions. Hi, 4K. Is the date of 2011 and the parole is final decision, or could it be changed by this in the Senate? Nothing is final yet. That's the thing. I mean, I don't want to say it, but it may be scratched off completely from the plan, right? There is a great possibility it may be. Why? Because they've been fighting over this for a long time. And 2 times already, the Senate parliamentarian stated that she thinks it's not suitable for the reconciliation bill. So there is a possibility it's not going to go in at all. There is a possibility it will be changed. Will it be changed to your benefit or not? That's the whole different issue, right? What if they're going to say that somebody who is convicted of a serious crime does not qualify for it? What if they're going to say that if somebody with an outstanding order of removal will not qualify for it? Maybe a million different things can happen, right? So I call it a guessing game. When the guessing game is going to be over, we do not know. I guess we will know by the end of December, closer to Christmas. Hi, Mohammed. Any hope for U visa backlog applicant? Well, U visa applicants got a break when they announced employment authorizations and deferred actions connected to it. Of course, the problem is that they're super slow in issuing those letters based on which you can file for an employment authorization. Perhaps it's because of the crazy backlogs and not enough people working for USCIS, right? But eventually, you guys who can show that they have initially strong case and hopeful case will be able to get work permits, which is, I think, very good and way better than what we had before, when the case would be hanging for 4 or 5 years with no hope of employment authorization. Hi, Darko. I got deported from USA during Trump's era. No felony and children, please. Do I return back to America? I think you should consult with a lawyer in private about that and see, first of all, why you were deported. Can you file for any waiver of deportation, right? Or of the inadmissibility related to the grounds of your deportation and deportation order. But this particular provision, parole, would not help you. It does not address that. If you recall, President Biden's proposal was supposed to help people who were recently deported, or deported, I think, in 2017 onward. But this one does not have that. Hi, Lucas. I overstayed my student visa for 2 years, but never received a letter from USCIS. What does it mean? Many people overstay their visas and they don't get any letters. It may mean that maybe you moved and you missed your letter, or perhaps just the government never get to you. It happens too. Not everybody actually get on the radar. That's why we have millions of people living here, right? That's people who are residents, but do not have, green card or any status in the United States. Can you please share the path forward for legal immigration provisions in BBB? When I see BBB, it always reminds me of Better Business Bureau. I don't know how about you guys, but it's just strange name for the bill. But of course, when I get more updates, I will absolutely share them. What's the update for those with pending asylum cases? Yeah, I think the best thing you can do is to discuss the situation with your attorney directly. All right, 8 years asylum case pending, it sounds a lot, but at this point, I would say you probably moved from state to state, because if you did not move, chances are, if you filed your case in 2015 and 16, soon you will be called for the interview. But 8 years places you at what, 2013? That's a little bit long. Something is going on there. Can my spouse, hi Dragon, I love some of you guys' names. Dragon, that's a nice name. Dragon Shadow 3090. Can my spouse outside the United States visit me if I get this parole? Can my spouse, why wouldn't you visit your spouse if you get this parole? Because your spouse will need a visa, right? Parole will not allow, from what I understand, any dependents. It can't, right? Parole is a person-specific thing. But if the parole passes, you should be able to get work permit, yes, and travel permit. And then you can visit your spouse. You can visit your spouse, right? But it's not going to allow you to sponsor your spouse, if this is your question. Your spouse may qualify for the visa, but they have to qualify for, I guess, visitor's visa, something like this. It's not going to be something that you can sponsor your spouse. Hi, Lena. I was deported after a DV case. Can I return to the United States? I do not know. Depends on how you want to return. On an immigrant visa or non-immigrant visa? Why you were deported? What are the grounds of your deportation? How the case ended? Did you appeal your case or not? Was there any violations done during your trial, if you had one? Did you agree to the deportation? There are many different things. It's not so easy within this format for me to tell you if you can or cannot. There are possibilities. There are people who can. Do you have family members who can sponsor you? Did they try sponsoring you before? Right? So it can be a million different things. For that reason, you probably should invest into consultation. Or lawyer always, in a case of a removal, must receive your records and look at them. Because what you think happened may differ from what actually happened, or what, at least in your file. Sometimes you read people's files and you say, oh, wow, there are additional allegations here or potential for additional allegations that, you will start this expensive process and it will lead to nothing good. All right. Let me see. I'm already in process to get my green card through my wife. Can I apply for BBB, 2 cases at the same time? Why would you want to do that? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, unless it makes sense for some other reasons. I think the best thing, if you have a lawyer, is to consult with a lawyer, but there is no BBB to apply for yet, right? So do not stop the process with your wife yet, okay? Maybe if the relationship falls apart, then you will look for backup plan. But BBB is the relief on the BBB that currently is being discussed. It's not a green card. It's not going to lead to the green card. It's just going to give you a safety net. Will you be able to apply for it if you have something else going on? I would say yes, unless they're going to issue regulation saying that no. But again, right now it's a guessing game. We do not know, right? After 5 years of parole, what will happen? Nothing is going to happen. What's going to happen is this. Why do you think they want to make it the law? It's because if it is the law, Trump cannot abrogate it by himself. And a different law has to be passed to stop it, or the law has to be found to be unconstitutional. All right? So if it was done by administrative action, then a new president, a new administration can reverse the course. And even then, they may not be successful. Do you recall when Trump decided to put forward travel bans or stop DACA? He was challenged, or stop TPS. He was challenged. They said, wait a second, you can't just change administrative or executive action. You have to present a very good justification for it and provide adequate notice. So it's not so easy to change something. All right, you can change the policy, but do you see how long it takes to change the policy? Even with Biden's promises, just now they started reversing. It takes months at least to reverse the policies that Trump put into place, to allow administrative closure, to bring the case to court. So it's United States system is it's slow. It's not something that can be changed like this. It's in some countries where everything depends on one person. One person wakes up and says, no TV for everybody. Next day, nothing. The United States is different. That's why it's a system of checks and balances. No, if Trump is reelected, the next day he will not be able to cancel the parole, if that's your question. They may make it harder, perhaps. Like, what can they do? Within the text of the laws, they may impose some different qualifications and standards, but or increase processing times, right? One way to deprive you of the benefit is just to process it forever, so you're not going to receive it. That would be something. I don't want to give them any ideas, so don't ask me anymore. Hi, Caesar. Many thanks, Alina. Hopefully I can call you and get a better consultation. You're amazing. God bless you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Caesar. I'm very happy that you find some information helpful here, and hopefully we're going to have good news soon, But remember, guys, that we need your files for a lawyer to be able to consult you. I can give you ideas based on what happened to you. Eventually, it's all going to come down in reviewing the records. If you had criminal convictions, we need certificates of dispositions. Sometimes people have a hard time getting certificates of dispositions. The sure way would be to get self-background check, FBI self-background check, and see what's in your file. If you had any law enforcement encounter, if you were trying to enter the United States and you're not sure what happened, like were you deported, were you sent back, what happened? Also, there is FOIA that you can file, Freedom of Information Act requests, to see what's in your record, what happened, right? You need to know that before filing for anything. Extremely important. I recently encountered a case where a person did not disclose that. They thought that it doesn't matter. Guys, it doesn't matter. Even if it happened 20 years ago, it still matters. if something like this happens to you at the border, that you're sent back or you're deported or you're not sure what happened, you need to investigate and find out. It's very important, because it may happen that maybe you gave some testimony making you inadmissible. Maybe you don't qualify for the relief because of that you're trying to file for. Million things. Hi, Santosh. Happy holidays. Hope for the better reform. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I also wish all of you happy Thanksgiving that we're going to be celebrating tomorrow. You know, I'm not going to be telling here what Thanksgiving is. I know that all of you know that this is a day when we're thankful. Originally, immigrants were thankful for native people to help them here, because they were very nice and very accommodating and very helpful, and everybody was, you know, helpful. And I know that there are other views on this and a lot of controversy over Thanksgiving for the past couple of years, but I think currently we're focusing on being thankful for good health, for the family, for what we have. We do acknowledge that there was great wrongs done in the past to the native people in the United States, to immigrants. There are wrongs that are being done all over the world to immigrants right now, and not only to immigrants, but we just want to appreciate each other and appreciate what we have. All of us are going through different struggles. There is no person who doesn't. I know that even sometimes you meet somebody saying they're so successful, they're rich and beautiful. Trust me, they have their own battles to battle. It's always been like this. It's always going to be like that. But I'm just very grateful that I have you guys. It always makes me so happy to see that you're joining, that you're participating, and you're watching. You know, our channel is growing. And I would like to thank you all for finding always time to be here. Thank you for your questions, for the comments. And I hope that we're all going to have a great year ahead of us. And we're going to have positive changes. And we're going to have good news and less negativity. And hopefully the life is going to go to the positive direction for everybody. And of course, me and you, we all should contribute to it by treating each other nicely, with respect, with kindness. And again, thank you very much for watching, guys. And I hope to see you all perhaps after Thanksgiving, after we all celebrate. Share your pictures, by the way, on the community board if you can. I'm going to make a post, and you can post how you're going to be celebrating, or just stop by, say hello. And I hope to see you soon.